Good morning, everybody. It is Christian here at How Board today, launching the How Board Symposium. Welcome, one and all. Let's cut the music. All right. Anyways, like I said, it is Christian here coming to gab at you here on How Board for this symposium. And today we're going to start just kind of rambling a little bit. This is quote unquote a podcast, label it however you wish, but ultimately this is just a chance for me to rant and talk to you guys without having to put in all the effort of video editing. So instead you get to hear my fun and wacky video or audio editing. There you go. Little sound effects here and there just because it's funny. So anyways, like I said, today we're just going to be ranting about board games. I got kind of a loose structure going on. I got a few things I want to do, and we are actually going to go ahead and start off today with the board game of the week. Yes, that is it. That is the first segment we're going to have on every one of these episodes here is board game of the week. And this time around, it is actually going to be Shug, a game currently on Kickstarter. Let me actually get it pulled up here because I'm not prepared, as always. This is a game by Wandering Games, a brand new company. This is their first game ever. And I've had my eye on this game for the better part of a year now, thanks to Shut Up and Sit Down's, Board Game Direct. They were talking about upcoming games and campaigns. And so this was like last fall this got brought up, and now the campaign is officially live. And of course, immediately I have already backed it because this game just looks amazing. For those of you that are not in the know about Shug and what this game actually is, the tagline is fantasy meets foolery. The tagline is fantasy meets foolery, and essentially that is what the game is. It is a very simple roll and move. There is, to my knowledge, 3, maybe 4 different decks of cards is about it, and then a board, player pieces, and a couple other small pieces that go onto the board. Nothing crazy. It's like one of the easiest setups for a game I think I've ever seen, and it just looks so impressively cheeky. Nothing about it is serious whatsoever. It is all totally foolery, and the main premise is that it's like a party game meets like an actual game for 1 to 6 players. There is 3 different modes to the game as of right now. For the base version, there is your normal competitive mode, which is going to be 2 to 6 players, and then you have a solo/co-op mode. So really only 2 versions of the game, but you can separate solo and co-op if you really want to. The thing that's different is different player counts. And the ultimate goal of this game is you're moving around this board to bring this mythical creature Shug, I think, back to the pub. It's old English folklore, I believe. The company is based in London, and I have gone through kind of a bit of their details of the campaign as to stuff behind the game, and that was kind of the gist of it, is that it's this English folklore creature, and there's a lot of other folklore creatures and people in here that's actually quite interesting. There's a lot of really fun stuff in there, but at the same time it's also extremely goofy. It's got this like kind of childish interpretation to it, given that this was actually a game that the creators started designing at the ages of 7 and 10, and they've spent years working. Actually, I think in the campaign they said that during COVID, during their lockdown, they went to their parents' attic, dug the game back out, and started reviving the actual creation of the game. And that's what we have today now, and it's actually fantastic looking. Again, simple roll and move. Got your typical roll and move stuff. You roll 2 dice, you get to move up to that many spaces. If you roll doubles, you get to roll again. There's other spaces you can walk over that'll let you roll again as well. I think you only get like 1 re-roll per turn in total, so you can't like go super crazy with it. But you can find treasure, you can encounter creatures, you can find legendary creatures, all sorts of cool stuff in there. But some of them get really wacky, and it kind of implements a little bit of a party game into it. For example, like when you come across certain creatures, they'll have you do random challenges in real life that are just really odd. Like for example, the one that was brought up on Shut Up and Sit Down was your opponent makes you a sandwich. If you don't like it, then you don't get the creature, or it was something like, it was something weird. Like they make you a sandwich. If you don't like it, they end up getting the sandwich and have to snack on it. But if they're caught snacking, they die. And dying is actually a very common thing in this game. And what that means is that your character loses all of your equipped items, all of your companions, everything like that. Everything that you had, you lose all that and you go back to the start space. So like it could be a lot more detrimental, but it's so wacky, all of the weird stuff. And there's like all sorts of game breaking things. You can get into duels with other players. If you end up in the same space, you can fight them to try to like steal their loot or whatever. But then there's cards that'll like, because you'll have items and companions that'll give you values, and then that's your attack strength and whatnot. So you're trying to have a higher attack strength than the other people when you're in those duels. And if you lose, then you die. The opponent gets your loot, so on and so forth. But there's like cards you can play that will change those duels. So like you can change that duel, instead of numbers, it's rock, paper, scissors. It's a staring contest, just goofy stuff like that. It is like one of the silliest games I've ever seen, but it still makes it like a normal board game where you still have a normal objective. And it's not like something like Just One, you know, where you're all trying to guess different words to try to get the person to guess this one word. You know, it's not like just a dedicated party game. It is a mashup. Like, okay, I'm even looking at their normal like elevator pitch, and it's a mashup of party game and dungeon crawler where fantasy meets foolery. Roam old England, befriend monsters, and get shugged to the pub. That is like the barest bones description of the game, but it is actually so perfect, and it's really hard to describe exactly how this game plays. And the reason that I'm talking about Shug today specifically, I'm not being sponsored by them or anything like that. I have no affiliation with these guys. What was it? Wandering Games. I have no affiliation with these guys. I'm just going to be clear about that right now. I, again, have just been keeping an eye on this game, and I've been looking forward to it for the better part of a year now. I think, well, maybe about half a year. It might not be that long, actually. But I've been really looking forward to and really excited about this game, and I'm very happy to see it come to life now. And like I said, I already backed it because I'm super excited about it. But this is not a pitch. This is not a sell to get you to buy this game. I am simply talking about this game today because the main subject that we're going to be talking about, that I'll get into in a little bit here, is going to be about where does the excitement for a game come from. And like I said, I've been very excited for this game. This is something I've been really, really looking forward to for going on months now. And it's one of those, like, I will kind of forget about it, put it at the back of my brain, but then once I start thinking about it again, it's there until I'm going to be living in anticipation for the next year for this game, because it is expected to deliver May of next year. And I got to tell you, folks, that year is going to be way too long. It can't come soon enough. I'm so excited for this game. For a little bit, I was kind of doubting on whether or not I was going to back it. I'm like, oh, I don't know if the solo mode for this game is going to be all that great. I don't think I'm going to get a lot of people to actually play it. And then I started watching videos on it. There was some more stuff that came out. Brothers Murph went and did a playthrough of it, and all the stuff I started seeing on it, it completely sold me and put me back in the driver's seat for buying this game immediately, because it looks so easy to teach someone, which I'm very excited for. Like, this is probably one of the easiest. You sit down and in 5 minutes you've got the game set up and you're teaching and it's done, and like you're playing right away. It's gonna be so silly, so fun, so engaging. There's even a card in here that punishes doom scrollers, people that are on their phone during the game. They'll get punished if they're not paying attention. So all sorts of crazy, wacky stuff going on in here. I absolutely love it. The art style is decadent. It's very unique. It's almost got like a Where the Wild Things Are vibe. I think that was what it's called, Where the Wild Things Are, something like that. You know what I'm talking about, listener, if you read that growing up. It has kind of a similar art style to that, I would say. Maybe I'm a little crazy. I mean, it's way more colorful. And again, it's also very cheeky. Like, you have one of the characters you can play is the Booty Knight, and it's literally just a knight with a very big butt. That's like, they have some kind of provocative stuff in here, and even one of the expansions is labeled as 18 plus. I can't say I've ever seen a board game be labeled as 18 plus, so I'm very curious to see where that one goes. And just in case anyone's curious, yes, I did back the game like in its entirety. I went and got let me see if I can actually find let me look at the rewards here. What was the pledge called? Oh, here we go. The abundance. I got the abundance pledge, which is 99 pounds, or if you're on USD, it's about $133. And the reason I got this is because it comes with the Shug base game in the gold leaf box. So it's like a special foil version. I'm not like too crazy about that. I kind of prefer the original box art. But I'm going to deal with it because of everything else that I get with this. And I think it'll still be really cool. So I'm not mad about that. So you get Shug with the gold leaf box, and you also get all 3 expansions. And now, be careful, dear listener, before I give you the names of these expansions. Be ready. They are not normal names at all. Nothing about this game and these expansions are normal. So I just want you to be prepared for that now. So the first expansion on the list here is Enter the Titty Realm. And that is not 3 T's. That is TIDDY, 2 D's. The Titty Realm, because there's a character in the game called Titty, and then like the Titty Realm is an expansion that adds in more titties that does like shenanigans and weird stuff. And I'm very curious about that one, but that is actually not the one that is labeled 18 plus. No, we'll get to that one. The second one is the Landlords expansion, which is actually quite clever if you read the background synopsis on the game. I'm not going to dig into it too much, but it is a very clever name. And what it introduces is actually really cool. If anyone has ever heard of the game Moose Master, it's like there's these new kind of absurd rules being implemented as the game goes on. Like players can't say this, or at the start of their turn they must do this. You know, silly things like that. It's a party game that's all about just wacky rules being implemented, and if somebody doesn't follow them, they get punished and probably end up losing. So this kind of adds an element of that into Shug. Where it just starts adding in these absurd rules. Like one of the cards that they show on the main thing is, I think it's the Queen, and her rule is that players can't say Shug. Like if you say Shug, you're going to get penalized. There's like a tax system involved. And then if you're higher up in the nobility, like you can dip into that tax pot is what it seems like. There's some very interesting stuff going on in there. They don't go into full detail with it, but I like the idea of having these weird rules being implemented on top of this already silly game. And it's just like, it's going to be so fun to catch people messing up on those. Like if you have that card out and somebody says Shug, you go, ha, you got to pay your taxes now. And it's, I don't know, it's going to be hilarious. I think I'm very excited for that expansion. Also not the 18 plus one. I mean, that one's kind of obvious. If that one was 18 plus, I'd be a little concerned. But it's all about nobility, being in the land and implementing taxes and taking over the wealth and things like that. And I think that one will be very interesting and fun to play. The last expansion is called Shug Nanigans. And this one is the 18 plus one. And from what I remember, there's not really a whole lot of information on this one. I'm going to scroll down really quick on the campaign page here and make sure that I'm not crazy, but I don't remember there being really a whole lot to describe this specific expansion. And I barely even noticed the 18 plus label, but once I did, I got very excited because now I'm like, well, what could this possibly mean? I'm not down far enough on this yet, I don't think. Am I? No, it's okay. This campaign page is laid out a little bit differently than I'm used to, but there we go. Okay, I'm there now. Okay, so the description we have of Shug Nanigans here is: join Folly, god of fools and cocks and mules, in utter abandon and whimsy, sea shanties, sandwiches, and slug dance-offs galore. A word of caution, Nanigans may lead to mysterious stains, burning thighs, or contested divorces. So this one seems like it just takes the base of Shug and just like cranks it up to 11, or I guess maybe even cranks it up to 18 plus, because again, this is the only part of this entire game that is labeled as 18 plus. And you can't see the image right now, but what I'm looking at is this like really weird creature with like the crone fingers, you know, like doing the finger on the lip with a weird crooked smile. He's got horns. He's got a rooster coming out of his head, like just like the neck and the head of a rooster coming out screaming. He has a staff with a little creature at the top that has its back to you, is looking at you, and has its butt cheeks out. That's the cover of this expansion. So I guess that's really all you need to know. This is where they do kind of get a little more perverted, I think, in their design. Oops, I just lost everything on where I was on this page. That's unfortunate. Oh, I think I clicked the page up. Oops. But yeah, let me get back to it here. Oh, okay. I went too far. That's the problem. But yeah, let me find some of the card names that are in this expansion, because they are a little bit telling. Oh, that's what's going on. Okay. Wow. For some reason, when I zoom in, it puts me down. So we have, let's see. You can't really, okay, I can't really get these names all that well. The one that they show fully is Jenny Greenteeth. I think I see a character down here whose name ends in, I'm not going to say that actually. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in here, to say the least, but it'll add 30 more monsters, one new legend, which are like the ones that you're trying to find, and like, well, ultimately you're trying to find Shug. Shug is the legend, but there's other legends that you can find instead of him, because there's a little bit of a kind of deduction thing going on. So one new legend, 10 treasures, and 10 chaos cards. So yeah, there's like, I think that means there's 4 decks. Yeah, because you have monsters, legends, treasures, chaos cards. Yep, okay. And ultimately, you're just exploring the board, finding all this different stuff. You can go off the beaten path. Again, the main goal is to rescue Shug and bring him back to the pub, but you can also win instead by beating King Charles, who has 100 health, and you have to be able to beat him in one encounter. And now that sounds rough, but well, it is. That's like something you kind of have to dedicate to. You don't really just, you could stumble into it most likely, because this is just a silly game once again, but it's very, very unique to say the least. All right. Well, I think that has been quite a bit of ranting about Shug, and I think probably not a bad time to go ahead and move on here. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and get onto our main topic today here. Where does the excitement in board games come from, or the excitement for a game come from? And obviously I've been going off this whole time so far about my excitement for a game that's not even out yet. It's literally in the beginning stages of crowdfunding. I'm recording this on May 21st, which is a day after the Shug campaign launched, and I've been able to sit here ranting to you about a board game, again, that's not even out yet, has just launched on Kickstarter a day ago as of this point. So obviously that's where it starts, but where is like the real meat and potatoes? What is the draw of a game? What brings people to the table to play games? Now, the excitement of a board game in the like waiting phase, that pre-order, that Kickstarter phase, that is usually a first-person view. Typically when I tell someone, usually my dad, when I tell somebody that I backed or I pre-ordered a game, it's typically just met with an, okay, cool. Like, sure, we can play that when it comes in. But no one is usually as excited about it as I am, the person who bought it. And that makes sense, because obviously it's going to be going into my collection and, you know, not somebody else's. But that person is most likely also going to have the chance to play the game. So why are they not as excited about it? Well, I can't even like blame them for that, to be honest, because it does make a lot of sense. I'm the same way. If someone tells me they're getting a game, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, awesome, man. Good for you. You know, like I'll be happy. I'll be nice for the person, but genuinely, I'm usually not excited about it myself. I care about the games that I'm getting. And I think this is just a thing with board gamers in general, is that we just love getting new stuff. We're like big collectors, even if we don't want to admit it. Like I have a collection that's over 100 games deep at this point. Let me get an exact number for you here, so I'm not lying to anybody, just so nothing's being represented. Currently, I own 156 games on my BG app here, or my board game app here, including 33 expansions. There's gonna be some goof ups in there. I know that's not an exact number, but that's like the closest representation I can have without calculating it myself. And out of those 156 games, I probably play like the same 30, maybe. I definitely don't play all of these all the time. Like I can scroll down here and yeah, there's a game I don't really play that one. Oh, I definitely don't play that one. Like I can go down this list and probably a good chunk of them it's probably closer to 50. I probably have like a loop of 50 of those games. Still, it's like a third of my collection that I actually play on a regular basis. And that being said, like that definitely kind of describes me as more of a collector sometimes than a gamer, and that's totally fine. you're allowed to be a collector. You could absolutely just be a collector in this hobby that just gets games that they like and look pretty, but they don't necessarily plan on playing. Like if I go through my list right now, again, I could see, so there's games that I've gotten as gifts as well that it's like, they're not really my vibe, but I'm not gonna like get rid of them because then it feels bad to the person who got them to me, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'll keep the game around. There's always a chance that it could come up. There's even games I've gotten that I'm just like, those were kind of misses. They didn't really hit as well. But again, they're just sticking around because it's like, well, I paid money for it. I feel like I also don't really personally have a great outlet for getting rid of board games. I could donate them, but I kind of would like to get maybe a few bucks back on them. Just how I am, just so I can get more games. But at the same time, like maybe donating some of these wouldn't be that bad. But there's games that you'll have like really high anticipation for. They'll show up, and then they just don't end up panning out the way you want them to, but then you just can't really get rid of them. And like, yeah, that can kind of suck away some of the excitement for, like, if that game was, the excitement came from getting it and not necessarily as much playing it, then it kind of does feel a bit bad, and it starts to become a little bit of a problem. So you kind of lose when the excitement is the thrill of getting a new game. Maybe that's not the right game to get, and maybe that's not the right kind of excitement. So alongside the conversation of where does the excitement from a game come from, it's also where should the excitement from a game come from. And that brings us into the next step, actually getting the game, like when it actually shows up. So you've kickstarted it, you've pre-ordered it, or you just ordered it online, and now you got to wait for it to ship. The next step now is getting it home and getting it open. This is another big point for a lot of hobbyists that I've noticed, is that even within myself, very much within myself, is getting that first open of the game, getting it out of the shrink and getting those punch boards and playing with those new components for the first time is a very exciting moment. Being able to get all of that out there in front of you and be like, whoa, this is actually a tangible thing that I own now. I'm no longer just waiting for it. The impatience phase is over. The anticipation is over. The thing is here now. It's kind of like going from being at the start of December to Christmas morning, and now you're like, okay, here's the presents, and we're getting them open. And you get that so big, that really big shock of dopamine when you're opening something for the first time. And that's something we all go through, whether you're a board gamer or not. Just anytime you're opening up a box, there's always that hit of dopamine from opening up a package. It's like getting yourself a gift. It's great. It's a fantastic feeling. The problem is that it is very fleeting. I would say that it lasts probably about half an hour to an hour. Like I'll get a new board game, I'll get it home, I'll get it opened up, and I'll be playing around with the components, getting them all punched out and set up and whatnot. And pretty much right after that, I get everything put back into the box and put it on the shelf. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now I have another game in my collection. And then maybe for like the next 10, 15 minutes after that, I'm like, oh my God, I'm really excited to play that game. It's going to be great. And then it dies down pretty fast. Like I do something else and then it's just gone. So that moment, there are some people that break the cycle or that just even operate differently. They will wait to open a game until they are able to actually like set it up, learn it, and play it. I have kind of this routine. I think there's a cat in my office. Don't mind that. I don't know what's going on. I have this kind of routine when I get a new game where I will, like I said, I will open it up. I will get my moment of playing with the components and get that half hour of enjoyment out of it. And then I shelve it and I come to it later. There are people that can just get a game to the table right away and start opening it, learning it, and like trying to play it right away. I am not one of those people. And a lot of the time, those people will leave the game in the shrink and like until a later date when they do have that moment. It's not like you buy the game or it shows up and you're immediately doing that. It's like you have time set aside to do that. I myself, I have to work on a new game in stages. So that is the first stage, is getting that dopamine hit out of the way of like, oh my God, this is cool. It's a new thing. I have it in my hands. I get to enjoy this experience for a little bit. I bask in that experience for as long as it lasts. And then I wait to have the next one. I like milking my little bits of excitement, usually subconsciously. This is a very subconscious decision, so don't get that wrong at all. But that is definitely one of those more fleeting feelings and emotions, and it does not last long. And sometimes it can be a little bit crushing afterwards. You're like, okay, cool, now I've opened it, I've had that bit of fun with it, but am I actually gonna like this game? You kind of start having doubts at that time for certain games. I can't say this of everybody. I suppose I should be self-ascribing this, not doling it out to all of you, because I'm sure not everyone is like me. I'm probably the crazy one. But for me, like, sometimes after that, I get a little bit of that clarity. It's like, is this actually a game I'm gonna enjoy? And so I kind of stew on that for a little while. That's where the subconscious part comes in, is I end up stewing on that feeling for a little bit. And I think it's actually a good thing. I think it's a good thing to have that stew and that little bit of doubt, because it brings in the roller coaster of life that will make things a lot more enjoyable. Like, you can't really take the good without the bad. So to really make the highs of any emotion feel good, you have to have some of those lower points, to have that contrast, to know when things are bad and then see them be good. You'll actually know they're good, rather than having that good be a constant, and then it just feels like a plateau or a flat line. You know, when it's static, the good doesn't feel good anymore. So having those moments where it's like, oh, I don't know, I'm not really like enjoying that. I'm not feeling this now. To have that, and then have that ride straight back up the next time I open that box to go read that rule book, that is the next stage, is figuring out the game. And this is the lowest point of excitement probably for most board gamers, is having to learn a damn game. Nobody wants to do it. The joke is always, I'm going to learn a new board game, and in the background is Rodney King telling you how to set up and play this board game, because nobody wants to be the one to do it. Nobody wants to go through that rule book, get all the minutia of setup and all the different rules and the niche stuff. Nobody wants to go through and do all that. It's just a very big, it's not a good time. Nobody likes doing it, and I agree with that. It's fine to not be excited about the reading rules part. I'm kind of a glutton for it some days. Like, I was never the biggest textbook person. Like, I was great in school. I loved school and actually doing homework and whatnot. What I hated was reading textbooks. That's why I was never good in history, because the textbooks were just so bad. And a good rule book makes all the difference to this stage of the game on whether or not you enjoy it. There's some that are just really like straight to the point and dry, so they're not enjoyable, but at least you can breeze through it. There's some that really stumble on themselves and don't make any sense. You're rereading and having to go back through it, and sometimes you might even have to put the book down and come to it a day later just to actually like understand what's going on. And that's never a good feeling. So I definitely understand that. Those rule books are rough. Like, a bad rule book will make or break an experience, or a rule book in general will make or break an experience with a game, because that's ultimately like the real first impression of a game. Like, yeah, you can get the game, you can see the cover, you can open up the components, play around with them a little bit, but the rule book is where you get the actual first impression of what a game is truly going to be like, getting all of those details in and be like, okay, this is how this is going to interact with that, and these things will play together, and this is what I'm actually doing on a turn. It's all the details, the actual like important details, not just this is what you look like, but actually this is who you are. And that's a very important thing to get from a game, and it could definitely cause a lot of people to fall off. Like, a badly written rule book will just put such a bad taste in someone's mouth. And I'm not throwing any shade here, but I am not a big fan of Root. I'm not a big fan of just Root. Yeah, pretty much. That rule book is atrocious. I'm so sorry to anyone who likes Root. I can't even say that I hate Root. I hate the Root rulebook. It drives me nuts, and I'm so glad I don't own that game, because if I had to be the one to go through that rulebook every time to know what's going on in a certain situation, I would lose it. I would just go crazy. I cannot with that rule book. It drives me so well. Rule books, because there's like multiple, and you have to try to piece them together and figure out how things actually work, and it just drives me up the wall. Give me one cohesive rule book and call it a day, please. So that one did kind of hinder my experience with Root, I'll be quite honest, because I did have to try to read through it at one point. Like, the first time I played it, me and my dad were really like not sure how a certain interaction went, and we were hunting to figure it out. It wasn't even like a very specific one. It was a very common interaction, and we're like, how does this even work? And it took us forever to figure it out, but we did figure it out. It was just a lot more work than it should have been, to say the least. But a good rule book will make a game fantastic if it's nice and breezy, if it gets to the point, if it's got maybe just a couple little jokes in there, you know, a little something to kind of lighten the mood, or, you know, maybe even bring on thematic points is cool too. Something to kind of bring in that engagement to a board game right away, I think is a fantastic thing. But it's not very common, because designers also really don't like putting together the rule book either. This is something I've come across as well, is that nobody likes rule books. The only unfortunate part is that, yeah, we kind of need the rule books. That's how we communicate how a game plays. It's not like the designer can be at everyone's table teaching them how to play this new game and be there for every little weird minutia interaction. There has to be a rule book, and it has to be well written. And it's, nobody wants to do it. Nobody likes rule books, but we need them. It's just like nobody wants their vegetables, but you gotta eat them. You just have to eat them. So yeah, this is kind of, again, this is the low point in a board game experience. But the next part, the first play, for me, this is where it really all comes together, because that's when like all of these pieces have lined up. You've gotten the game, you've opened it and played with the bits. You've actually read the rules, maybe spent a couple days doing so to try to really have it down. Now you're getting it, you're putting it on that wood table, you're busting it out. Well, probably on a playmat. Let's be real honest. You're probably putting it on a playmat. But getting it all set up, getting it ready, getting all the components lined up, the board laid out, the decks of cards all set up perfectly. It's such a good feeling to see everything come together. It's going to be a bit sluggish. It's going to be a bit brutal. You know the first game's not going to go great. If you're playing with other people, pretty much everyone's anticipating it to just be a practice game, and no one is really taking it too seriously or to heart. It's the most lighthearted experience you can have with a game, where the least amount of frustration is. You're still learning the ropes. You're starting to see things tie together and see the cleverness of the design. And you're really getting the full experience of that thing that you wanted come to life on your table. I don't think there's any moment more exciting than this, except for one, which we'll get into in a bit. But this moment, so fantastic. Again, there's gonna be hiccups, there's gonna be problems, people are gonna lose focus, there's things that are gonna go wrong. The first play always goes wrong, no matter what. There's always at least one thing happens that is not correct every single time on a first playthrough. And sometimes that's half the fun of it, because it's like, oh, I'm learning something already. Like, yeah, I spent all that time in this rule book and I didn't quite get it all right, but you know what? We're figuring it out together and we're getting through it. Now we're going to start ironing stuff out. And we know that this is just the beginning of hopefully a very long journey with a great game. Because we all want every game to be great. Let's be real. We really all want every game to absolutely be fantastic. And that's, let me think of one recently that I got here. Layers is a game that I got recently that showed up recently through a Kickstarter, and this has been one that I had so much excitement for during the Kickstarter. It kind of fell off after about like a month or so. I kind of forgot about it, and then it showed up at my door. I got the excitement of opening it. I'm like, oh my god, it's actually here. This is awesome. I want to start digging through all this stuff. I got through the basic components because of course I have the adventurers pack, so I didn't want to start opening that stuff up and spoiling it. I wanted to play a few games first. And I got the game to the table for the first time. We started playing and I'm like, oh, this game it has been worth the wait. It was like a year and 3 months, I want to say, that I waited for that game. And I was expecting it to be less than a year was the hope as of when it was backed. I wasn't the one who backed it, but it was backed for me. So I'm just going to say it like that. But getting it to the table for the first time was such a thrill, because I knew immediately it was a game I was going to keep coming back to and really, really enjoying. And I was looking forward to all of the moments I was going to have with it, getting through that adventurers pack, digging into the deeper dungeons and really like exploring the depths this game has to offer. It was so like I was more excited for what was to come than what I was facing. And I think that's a lot of what the first game amounts to, is that you're like, okay, I can see that things are rough now, but I know that once I have this game down and people are like really playing with me, we get consistent with it, it's going to be so amazing to play this later on down the road when like everybody's getting all those neat interactions and it becomes like a more cutthroat thing, or we're actually like putting in good effort because we know what we're doing. We're setting up combos. Things are feeling great. And that feeling of looking forward to that is probably the third greatest feeling. The feeling of that first play is the second, because that's what leads into that. And also, playing for your first time is just such a blast anyways. It's always a good time. Well, I can't say always. There are some rough first games. There are some games that do put a really sour taste in people's mouth for the first time, and that's understandable. But if this is your game, this is something you've been excited for, something you've been building up all this anticipation for, and you're getting your first play, a lot of the time you're going to be feeling pretty dang good about it. The problem with subsequent plays is that's when you start noticing some of the flaws in the game design, like things that maybe you overlooked with those rose-colored glasses in that first play. Now you're going into subsequent plays, you're starting to see where some of the errors and these nooks and crannies are that just don't quite line up, or you think, oh, that's kind of stupid, and then you start implementing house rules to make up for that, because you're like, well, that rule just doesn't make any sense. Why are we playing it like that? Like, this card shouldn't work this way. Why are we doing that? Let's just change it for our home rules, and then you start, like, once you play it more and you become more experienced with this game, you start seeing all those little flaws and little mistakes, because nobody's perfect. Every game is going to have some kind of design flaws to it, whether it's like a balancing issue or just something not working as intended or being worded very oddly, so you kind of have to interpret it yourself and make it up as you go. Those cases are always going to happen. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Again, people are going to make mistakes. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. You can playtest a game 100 times. You can playtest it 1,000,000 times. There's still going to be issues behind every design. And sometimes designers just have to get games out there. They'll get to a point with the game where it's like, okay, now we're just getting into like really nitty gritty stuff. We'll fix up a few more things, and then we're probably just ready to ship it, because we need to get it out. These companies need to make money so they can keep making games. So they can't spend forever on one title, and they kind of, sometimes they just have to get it out. That is just the case. But that is something you're going to notice in subsequent plays, which is going to make them not as exciting as that original play. But you're still going to have that subtle anticipation in the back of your mind of like, I'm still really looking forward to the next play of this game. And like, when you're looking forward to playing a game, you're overlooking those mistakes again. You're mostly going to be noticing those while you're in the midst of playing a game. Most of the time when you're in anticipation of playing a game, you're overlooking that stuff. You're just like, I just want to get in there and play it. I'm so excited to play this. I really want to do it. So that's why I think that is like the third best feeling, is the anticipation of playing a game again. Is you're like, oh, I really can't. I have ideas for next time. I know what I want to do next time. I want to kind of like change things up and try different strategies, or I want to see how this thing unfolds and really delve into this. Whereas like while you're in the midst of a game, you're like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see some of the cracks in this design here, and now I have a little bit of a problem with it. So the excitement's not as good while playing a game, I think, as it is anticipating playing the game outside of that first play. The other feeling that creates the most excitement for a board game, what creates the absolute most excitement for a board game, is when somebody else around you gets excited about it. See, for example, like with Layers, I got that in, and I've obviously it's a 2-player game. I'm not playing that solo, so I had to get someone else to play it. And well, the first person I got to play was my dad, because he was already kind of excited for it. And at first, he was kind of hesitant about this game. He didn't really think there was going to be a lot to it. He didn't think it was going to be all that enjoyable. He was just kind of meh on the game. He's willing to try it. He wasn't going to dismiss it. He was curious enough about it. And we go through and play it, and I just see him light up. Yeah, and the excitement he had of playing that game again, that got me excited. And I think that is like sharing those moments with someone else, the moment of excitement of like, oh my God, I really want to play this game again. Seeing that in someone else with your game, that is one of the greatest feelings. I also had an experience last year. I was introducing Ostia to a couple of buddies that I came across. We were just starting out and trying to, figure out each other's collections and tastes in board games. And they mentioned that they were into, heavier games like Arc Nova and stuff like that. So I'm like, you know what? Fine. I'll bring Ostia. That's my current number 1 of all time. I'm going to bring this. I'm going to show it, and I'm going to see if they like it. And now, I don't think either of them, maybe one of them had experience with Moncala before. But everyone enjoyed it so much that was the first time I actually back-to-back played a game. At least like a medium to heavy game. I've done it with like, card games and small stuff. That's no problem to play back to back, but like an actual decently sized, lengthy, meaty, chunky board game, have I played it back to back. And I think we played it even 3 times in one night, because the guys just loved it that much. We got to the end and they're like, no, I can do better. Run it back. So we'd go and we'd reset the board all over again and play all over again. like I said, we did like 3 games of that in one night, and I'm like, I've never done this before in my entire time board gaming. I've never just re-racked a board game. I've never done that. It was so bizarre to me, but at the same time, it was really cool. And seeing their excitement of like, hey, let's play it again, I'm like, okay, why not? That sounds amazing. I'm so down for that. And it was such a good time. It really does make the moment, and that level was awesome. So going past that, after the game's been played, you're tearing it down, there's another little hit of excitement there, especially if you're in multiplayer, you're with other people, you're tearing down the board game, you're putting everything away, and you're talking about how the game went down, you're laughing at the silly moments, or you're saying, oh man, I should have done this, I'm gonna have to make sure I do this different thing next time. I'm glad I know about this interaction now, I'm gonna make sure I pay attention to it. And like, you're already planning and scheming for your next game, and that again goes into that third best feeling of the anticipation of the next play, because you're sitting there thinking about it, you're like, oh my god, it's still fresh on your mind, and you're kind of maybe overlooking some of the mistakes. You still got a little bit of them in your mind, but at this point you're like, the game is actively on the forefront of your brain. You're thinking about the next play already, because you're like, I want to do it again, because I really want this feeling, and I want to do better. I know I can do better in this game, so I'm going to fight to do it next time. And then while you're playing, you got so much focus again that you're not really like feeling the excitement of the moment. That comes after the fact. It's that like post-adrenaline rush, like, oh my god, that really happened. And now I'm looking forward to doing it again. I want to do that again. And that is another fantastic feeling. And then the excitement, unfortunately, kind of dies after that when the game goes back on the shelf. That is where the excitement, I think, goes away. The game's out of purview. No one's really thinking about it anymore. Maybe you're still talking about it for the rest of the night, but usually by the next morning after that game's been shelved, it's going to be kind of forgotten about until it's brought up again, until you're planning to play it, or you're at a game night, you're like, oh, what should we play? And you see the game, you're like, oh, well, we can play that one again. And then the excitement ramps all over again, and it's another nice little loop. And then after that, it's the valleys. When you first think about the game, you're like, yes, I do want to play that. You get into it and you kind of lose some of that excitement, which I think is fine, because that's your time to focus and play. And then you can finish with that excitement after a game where you're like, oh, now I just want to play it again. And then it's like, well, I don't want to do it right now, but I like the idea of playing it again later. I like that idea. And that, I don't know. This has just been a big time of me rambling and just using the word excitement on repeat, because I'm very excited. That's also kind of why I use this for the inaugural episode of this quote unquote podcast. More so just a rambling point for me. Again, just a point where I can talk to you guys and just kind of be outwards. Maybe get some of your thoughts on these subjects, because I just like having the community here. I don't plan to do anything insanely serious. I'm just here to gab at you guys and have a good time. And hopefully this has been interesting enough for you. I don't know how much longer I'm going to carry on with this topic, because I'm kind of running out of steam here. But I think overall, the excitement of a board game ultimately should come from looking forward to that next play. That's when you have the mark of a really good game. But all of the other moments are really important as well. Like for me right now, again, that anticipation of Shug. I'm looking so forward to opening that next year and getting it to the table and actually playing it. That's like a huge moment. Like that's the highest point of excitement. It's just also typically like one of the most agonizing, because you're living in that anticipation, and then you start getting the impatience. You're like, oh, I can make it a year. You start by making it a year, and then the days go on and you think about it every night. You're like, oh my god, I bought that game so bad, I need it so bad. And then it starts kind of getting a little bit painful, and then you start getting closer to the time where it's supposed to show up. You're like, oh, it's getting here, and then there's a delay. Getting the delays on Kickstarters and stuff always feels the worst. You're like, I've been waiting so long already. I just want the game. But then you also, like, I understand stuff happens. There's problems. Things come up. It doesn't always work out the way I want it to. But, oh, excuse me. But that's still, you still have that excitement. I'm kind of dealing with that with Deep Regrets right now. That's supposed to show up any day now, and I'm still in excitement of that game showing up. But at this point, it's also, I don't think it's technically been delayed, but it's showing up later than I would have expected it to initially. I think the initial date was for March of this year is when it was supposed to arrive. So it's maybe slightly delayed, or it could have been May. I honestly don't remember. I don't remember what the initial window was, to be honest. I'd have to go look at those updates again, which I'm not going to go do right now. That's fine. But yeah, so that's like the biggest moment of excitement, but also sometimes the most frustrating. And then you get into actually opening the game and experiencing it for the first time, and you just get that whole cycle. Like, you get those fleeting moments, the one-time moments that are like good spikes, but the best games have those consistent moments of excitement when you're thinking about that next play, or when you're opening up the game for the next play too. It can also be a very exciting moment, like, oh, we're finally getting it to the table, I'm so happy. And like, you can draw different moments of excitement for different games, and I think it's definitely very different for everybody. This is kind of where I feel the most excitement is during the setup and teardown of a game, because it's like the anticipation of, oh, the game's coming up, we're gonna get it played, and then afterwards it's like, oh, that was really, really good, now I want the next one, I want to do it again. Of course, I hardly ever like to do it back to back, but I'm like, I definitely I kind of want to play this tomorrow now or something like that, you know. Like, I want to play it again soon, but I still want to cycle through my collection so I don't just hammer on one board game a little too hard. I don't know. I think there's plenty of different moments, and plenty of people probably get all sorts of excitement from actually playing the game, feeling the mechanisms, the player interaction, or quote unquote solving the puzzle for like a Euro game or something. Those moments do feel really good, and there's a good level of satisfaction in there, but I think it's less excitement and more just enjoyment is what I think that moment is specifically. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you guys have different moments where you feel excited about a board game, I would love to hear it. Maybe there's some things I didn't think about or some points I didn't think about, but I'm always just here to get excited about board games in general. I mean, if board games are mentioned to me, I'm gonna get excited. It's as simple as that. I love board games, and that's what we're all here for, and I'm sure that's what we're all here for. So let's go ahead and start closing things out a little bit here. So the last sort of segment that I'm going to go through today is just kind of chatting, just gabbing a little bit. I'm going to talk about some stuff that I've been playing recently, or maybe some fun scenarios I had while board gaming. And maybe at the end, I'll pose a question to y'all if I have one. Today, I didn't come prepared because I'm a silly goober. But if I think of something, I'll leave the question at the end. So games I've been playing recently, I just finished up my 6th game on my 10x10 list was Septima. So I'm 6 games down now. I've completed Septima, and this is for people that keep up with the channel and watch my monthly updates. I am doing a 10x10 challenge. And like I said, now I've completed 6 of them, being Septima, Endeavor Deep Sea, Wormspan, Knitting Circle. Oh, what were the other 2? I don't have my list on me right now because I'm a goober and I didn't make a digital copy of it. It's all on paper. But there's 2 other games that I completed. I just can't remember them. Oh, Expeditions. Was that 6 games? There's 6 games, but Septima's the most recent one. And I literally, this last weekend, I did 1 play of it a day over 3 days. I had the entire weekend to myself. My wife went on a trip with some friends. And so I was just at the house alone for the entire weekend, and every day I played a game of Septima for my last 3 plays of it, and it was really good. At first, when I got that game, obviously I was in love with it. I was so excited for that one. Again, back onto the main topic a little bit. I was really hyped for that game. And then I started playing it, and I was still really early on in my board gaming journey, like probably just a few months in. But it was super deluxe. It was super beautiful. It was a theme that really called to me. I was like, oh, this is super exciting. I can't wait to play this. So I got in and I played it a few times. I didn't finish a full game. Most of the time I would get like 1 or 2 rounds in and my brain would start hurting, so I had to put it away. And like, it was very, it hurt a lot because I'm like, no, I kind of didn't want to play it with the fact that I couldn't get through a full game of it. So I shelved it and I was gone. I didn't play it for probably the better part of a year. I dipped from that game for quite a while, and then I went back and revisited it after I had been playing board games for quite a bit longer, and I had more experience with some of those heavier games, and I had more mental stamina to be able to actually make it through those. Once I was at that point, it was so much easier to play Septima. I started getting through entire games of it, still losing, which was a little bit disheartening. That's just, I kind of have that about me some days. When I lose, it does end up being a little disheartening. It's something I'm working on about myself, but at the time it was really tough with Septima to lose, because like, I've been working so hard to figure this game out and I just can't get a grip on it. So I shelved it again, and then I ended up coming back to it when I started my 10x10 challenge, I'm like, I need to figure this game out. I dedicated to myself. I'm like, I need to play this game. I need to understand it. I need to actually start like figuring it out and learning how to win. Because I knew that was going to make me feel better about it. Like once I feel more experienced with the game or more knowledgeable about it, I start really, really loving it. Like when I can go deep into a game and really feel like I have a good grasp on it, that's when I start like, oh, I love it. It's not, again, as much excitement as it is just enjoyment at that point. The excitement is in the learning and knowing that I will get better, and then it starts becoming just pure enjoyment. So when I started the 10x10 back up, I had a lot more experience with heavy games by that point. Well, I guess maybe I shouldn't say a lot, but I had quite a bit more experience than I had previously. And then it was just like a breeze. And I started like, once I looked at the game as an efficiency puzzle and not a thematic experience, that like shifted my whole perspective, and I started playing the game way differently, and I actually started doing really good. Like maybe the first couple of games I didn't actually win, but afterwards I started like piecing things together. I'm like, okay, I have things I can do now. I can make stuff happen. And it was learning how to make multiple actions happen with one action. Once I realized that, I'm like, oh, well, now everything's clicking together. I can just start jumping through it. And it was such a harrowing experience to be able to go through all 10 of those plays again. And I'm probably still going to be playing it more throughout the year as well, because it is just a really good game. It was very daunting at first, was the big part of it. It was a very daunting experience, but once I started piecing things together and figuring it all out, it became so much smoother, so much more enjoyable, and now I just flow through it like nothing. It's so much better to play now. So that's what I've been playing. Are there, maybe that'll be my question for this first episode, are there any games that you had that, like, you got them at first and they were so tough that you just didn't enjoy them and then you put them away, and it was like, is there a game you've had to revisit to really experience and enjoy it the way it was meant to be? That's my question. Have you had to revisit a game to actually properly enjoy it? Because I've had that happen with a couple games, actually. It wasn't just Septima. I had that happen with Nucleum, and I think a little bit Endeavor, too. Endeavor wasn't so much because it was complex, but just because it was hard to master and to find those combos. But once I started finding them, it was a lot better. Yeah, let me know down below. Are there any games that you've had that experience with where you're like, at first you just hated it because you couldn't figure it out, and then when you came back to it, you're like, oh, now I get it. Like that revisit sometimes really does a lot for the psyche and just making games a lot more enjoyable, I think. So, well, I think that is going to do it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully you found some value in this content, whether it be any sort of information or just entertainment. You know, maybe it's just nice to have somebody gabbing in your ear for the better part of an hour. I think it was like, what, 40 minutes-ish? I don't have the exact time, but you know, for however long, maybe it's just nice to have somebody gabbing in your ear, just have a voice going at you that wasn't, you know, just music or whatever. But yeah, if you find any value in this content, feel free to please subscribe or leave a like down below if you enjoy it or if it was helpful to you in any way. I don't expect anything from anybody, but if you do, that's awesome. So thank you guys so much for tuning into the first episode of How Bored Symposium. There's going to be a bit of things to hammer out with this for sure. I'm definitely going to be working a lot in the background to try to kind of make things pan out a bit more and feel better and more fluid, obviously. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at talking over the years, like just naturally flowing into conversation, one-sided usually. But I still want to work on more of the actual production stuff for you to make this a more enjoyable experience. So don't think this is the peak of where this one's at. I do plan to work on this a little bit more, and I'm going to try to upload these weekly. I haven't decided what day of the week yet, though. So if you have any thoughts, let down in the comments. If you have a preferred day on when you would like podcasts to drop, let me know. Because I'm just kind of curious. I don't really have any. I don't know if I'll particularly take it into swaying my position, but I am just kind of curious to know what people think is the best day for uploading a podcast. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. And again, not really a podcast, just kind of me ranting for quite a bit. So thank you for sitting through my ramblings and well, hopefully hanging around. But anyways, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Well, I'll talk to you next time. I'm not going to see you because this is an audio podcast. So anyways, thank you so much again. Talk to you next time. Peace out.